morning once again to all of you. Thank you for joining in. Today's webinar, we would be covering FP&A like you have seen never before. With me, I have Ankit Goyal, Vice President at Polestar and Head of EPM Practice. Hey, Ankit, welcome on board.
Hey, Fazan. Hi, all. It's so nice to have you all in this particular session.
So, Ankit, there's a lot of buzz going around the social media around this FP&A webinar. We're talking about integrated FP&A. We're hearing about something called the I3 paradigm. Integration like never before. What is this all about? Can you tell our esteemed listeners what's in store for today?
Absolutely. So, um, you know, there has always been talk around, planning and connected and integrated planning time and again, historically, right? But we achieved one, we overlooked other, we achieved other, we overlooked the one. So, our team at Polestar, we decided to, kind of bring a package solution which could actually be giving the benefit of both the worlds, integrated as well as connected, right? So connected being provided by Anaplan as a platform and integrated based on our skill set, provided by our own ETL tool, which we call as Integration 360 slash wormhole. So we are going to talk about it in this session today, primarily focusing on the FP&A as the starter use case. All right. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll begin. So, Fasan, if you could confirm that we can see the screen.
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So, what I'm going to do as a part of this session is talk about, talk about, the solution that we have in offer here, and primarily the reason of bringing out that solution and the challenges that face and the problems it would solve. And then we'll quickly go through the solution, have a small demonstration also planned for this session, which will take you through. So understanding, what lies at the heart of finance. Now, finance team has always been, historically an enabling function. Lately, they have been looked upon as a steering function. Now, when you are wanting a team of folks to steer the whole organization, they are required to have tools at hand which will make them more powerful and give them more time on their analysis rather than, burden them with a lot of technology related processes and inefficiencies of those processes which require further handling by different ways and means. So we did, which brings us to the solution which is an all-rounder in itself, so that finance team has least to do with how that whole solution is set up, and they are empowered with the solution so that they can spend a lot of time in the analysis and scenarios and decision making. So we brought we brought the solution to you, wherein it kind of acts as a starter kit. So this kind of helps you to get kicked off in your planning process at the finance function, and immediately, so to with a small onboarding period, you don't need to wait for too many months in order to get it deployed. We can actually, based on understanding the structure that you have in organization, it's and the way the solution is there, we can find the commonalities and get you quickly ramped up with the solution, and then subsequently support the subsequent enhancements of your process if at all that's required. All of this has been made possible because of the templatized constructs that we have prepared, and by no means it restricts you to fit in your process to the solution, right? Because that is the idea with the solution, that the solution should be is smart enough so that your process, it could kind of adapt to your processes, or relate to your processes immediately, and it's completely industry configurable. So rather than calling it out that it doesn't matter which industry you're sitting in, you can use this app. That's precisely is something which requires industry specific configurations, if at all that's the need of the hour, and it is very much configurable to every industry needs. So what do we have as a part of the solution here? A full-fledged financial planning analysis app built upon Anaplan, which can bring in data from your source systems, any source systems, and accordingly help you utilize your actual business performance for your budgeting. In the solution, we have certain building blocks that are part of this solution. So business hierarchies. There is a defined level of organization hierarchy, which could cater to your own set of organization. We can immediately, ramp your organizations on it. If at all there's a need to expand it, that can be an add-on activity. Defined level of geo hierarchies, a structured planning of the P&L and the balance sheet based on certain key drivers which are utilized widely across the world, and defining departments which would cater to your specific needs, and driver-based OpEx plan. Now, this is something which is very important because when we talk about OpEx planning, a lot of times we want to do OpEx planning in a driver-based methodology, but probably due to restrictions of our current planning platforms that we use, be it Excel, we tend to resort to a linear growth percentage-based mechanism or not go well in depth regarding those drivers at our business dimensionality. And as an output, you get your standard statements, profit loss, balance sheet, cash flow, and certain more added analysis with respect to your variance and your executive dashboards and KPIs. Now, so the solution is built upon Anaplan, and the Anaplan definitely has ways and means to bring in data from your other systems. So what's new in our solution, right? You can definitely, it's definitely a very valid question to ask that what is it that a solution offers, because Anaplan is a platform, so you build an app upon it, right? So does it help me to connect my source systems with it? And that's where our I3 paradigm comes into picture, where we talk about integration, intelligence, and insights, all well connected with one another by means of our integration ETL tool that we have built out, which is called Integration 360. We'll also see a glimpse of it. The benefit of this tool is it's a non-technical integration tool, right? So you don't need essentially an IT knowledge in order to configure your integrations with the source systems, correct? And definitely it provides you a bi-directional integration. So we call it wormhole, or all around 360-degree integration. So it provides you a SaaS-based low maintenance integration connector for all types of systems. We are continuously ramping it up, also including different source systems, and that's the part of the package itself. It allows you to have the bi-directional data flow. The UI is very intuitive. It's very understandable by the business teams. In the 6 simple, easy steps, you can set up your entire integration, right from establishing a connection to setting up that pipeline and executing it. All these executions are properly logged, and the audit trail is well maintained, allows you to have notifications on emails. And the security configured in this tool is the enterprise grade level security we have. Now, without taking much of your time, I'll move on to the demonstration. So, okay. I hope you can see the browser now where I have Anaplan opened up.
Yes, Ankit.
So as a part of our entire, FP&A catalog offering, we have FP&A app which caters to the broad industry segments. We are continuously working to have FP&A apps out in the market to cater to even more granular industry segments. However, in order for any industry segments which currently is not part of our offering, we have a generic FP&A app, which actually is the main part of this demonstration today, which you're going to see. Okay, and which you are going to see, and accordingly, we'll see that how different business hierarchies and different planning processes could be set up in this particular app. Okay. Now, as a part of the integrated FP&A offering, this is the entire flow that is being offered as part of this solution, right? So we have an entire section wherein you will configure your actuals data to be coming in. Then you will plan your entire FP&A in different pockets. We plan revenue, COGS, SG&A, balance sheet drivers, and look at our different types of reports, right? There's an admin page which allows you to configure your business hierarchies, right? So this is where I could very easily, we could understand from you what are the, so there's a product hierarchy, for example, right? So we have a product group list as a part of the structure, which rolls up to brand, which rolls up to BU. If at all you have different terminologies in your product hierarchy, we can very well accommodate those. And then and also we can rename all of these product hierarchies based on your own set of definitions or nomenclatures that you use for your business units, brands, or product group. So tomorrow, if it's not brand, if it's, for example, say, taking cues from hospitality industry altogether. So you have your room categories, and then you have your properties, and then your properties could be rolling up into geos. So this entire setup could be configured in no time with respect to that specific structure. And then we have a customer segment. So customer segmentations at all, if you need, that's could be paid out here. So before we start off any planning activity, right, our main objective is to bring in actual data from our source systems into Anaplan. And how do we set up that, right? So at this moment, I'd like to talk about wormhole, right? So in wormhole, there are, the two things, one is connections and one is tasks. Now, when we're talking about connections, it basically a simple connection to a system, which could be a source or a target. Let me, help you by visualizing how a connection could be created. So, for example, if I'm talking about, right now, our ETL tool caters to different types of data sources. As I said, we are continuously expanding in order to accommodate more data sources. For every type of data source, a specific set of parameter information is required to configure that connection. For example, if I talk about Azure Blob, so I need an account and account key, as simple as that. So you reach out to your cloud administrator or your Azure SPOC, get that account key, or even this entire connection could be created by somebody who is your IT administrator. So without any, technical knowledge intervention, so to say, you can actually set up the connections immediately. So you enter your account key, you test, and then you save. Once you've established your connections, right, then we comes to creating the task, which is simple a pipeline between two systems, one source, one target. So based on the data source that you select, you could, for example, if I selected, I could select different source connections that have been created. Or if at all I am selecting an API-based system, I could select different source connections that are created here, and accordingly from my target. And once that is done, my pipeline is set up, my task is completely set up, and now I'll go about running those tasks. Okay. So when I'm talking about executing those tasks, I can either trigger it manually or I can schedule it. Schedule it by any frequency that you want, and then automatically the data would be brought in from your source systems into your Anaplan. So in order to demonstrate that, let's check if we have any actual data in the system. If we do, we will do a clear data out here and we will bring all of that information. So I'm going to clear out all my actual data that is present in Anaplan right now. And I'm going to go to my, say, the main revenue budget sheet just to check if at all any volume data is present. No, there is no volume data. There is no actual or actual base budget that could be created. So to difference that, we have different sheets for revenue, COGS, GL, and rolling up to GL department. So I'll just take some revenue to start with. So I'll simply go and execute my task. And the moment it's successful, I'll get a notification out here that successfully triggered. And post that, I can go and see in my Anaplan, my actual data is brought within a few seconds. In the similar fashion, if I run my COGS and my GLCC, I'll be able to fetch that information from my relevant source systems into the Anaplan. So I've triggered my GLCC. We'll go and check. It's populated. I'll go and check COGS. Still blank, so I'll fetch my COGS information. Now the idea to have different tasks triggered out here is because many a times it's all of these things could be performed in one single task step. Let me get that out of the way if that's what you're thinking right now. But the idea to bring these different tasks is because we have observed in many organizations that the granularity of a particular expense that they would need, right? That they would need is it lies in different systems. So that's where you could actually leverage that. Now, moving on to our main budgeting process, how it allows you to, and this can be used as it is in your own business scenarios. So we start by our revenue planning by looking at by planning our volume, wherein we are actually using Anaplan's Plan IQ for forecasting based on the historical information, historical sales, right?
Yeah, Ankit, sorry to interrupt, but just before you jump into the next part, I just want to do a quick interaction with the audience. What are you feeling about what you're seeing? Just reply to us in the chat. Maybe just type in Anaplan if you're liking what you're seeing. This is super cool. In just 6 simple steps, you don't need any technical team. It's completely user driven, and you just saw live how we were able to pull in data from not just one but 90 plus data sources right into Anaplan. And not just that, you can actually push it back from Anaplan into those data sources. That's the power of Wormhole. If you like it, please type in Anaplan in the chat. That would show us that what you're seeing, you're liking it, and that gives us more confidence. Oh, I can see already people putting in Anaplan. Wonderful, wonderful. That's lovely. Wonderful. I'm just flooded. The chat is just flooded. Ankit, this is a great response. People are liking what they're seeing. And I'm very sorry to interrupt, but I just could not resist myself after seeing that amazing demo. Sorry for the interruption again. Back to you now.
Great. Thank you. So so we start with our volume forecast, wherein we are using the Anaplan's Plan IQ to forecast the volume based on historical volumes that we have registered. There are 4 methods using which we have forecasted, which are populated out here. All these different methods, as you selected, would be shown over here with respect to every product. And based on that, the same forecast would also be acting as a guidance to you when you are going to do your budget planning. Now, when we are coming to our revenue budget planning, the first thing that we're going to do is get our prices from current prices or the latest price master from our system. Now you can have it uploaded via Excel manually, or you can bring it from the system or maintain it in Anaplan at a product category or product level, and product level, and then you can modify those rates at quarterly if at all, and accordingly set the rates for different quarters to, based on those particular products, and then you get your output as the budget rate calculated at product level for different periods of the year. So based on what you select, you see all the all the rates for the months. Now coming to the volume budgeting is guided by the previous year and second previous year volumes, looking at the growth and also the Plan IQ volume forecast that we have seen. Now either you could use these forecast as it is, or you could apply a growth percentage and accordingly see what is the final, and accordingly set your final volume targets at a product level. And this can be done at a customer segment. So you need not worry that, what if I've set my products at, my volume targets at a particular level, product level, how do I distinguish or separate it out into customer segments? So, so you could do that. Now, secondly, when we are allocating it at a brand level, we then move around to distribute those volumes from brand to my products, right? Now I could use the previous year share of those products in the specific brands, or I could enter them manually and accordingly set my budgets for my product level across the customer segments. And then for the volume allocation, we are using trend at a product level. In the trend, there are two types of trends that are available. And the system will automatically figure out your previous year actual trend, or you could use the forecast trend also based on the forecast that you selected for your final volume forecast. And accordingly, the trend would be created for month level. Now that's how you go about and set up your revenue budget at a month level, at a product level, with the granularity of having done at a customer segment as well. Now this is, if you note, all of this is completely system guided, system supported, and allows you to have minimal set of inputs in order to create your revenue budgets, rather than entire sales team working through the the business days methodology or creating those combinations and be able to do the volume forecast and accordingly the other types of forecast. Now moving forward from revenue budgeting to my COGS budgeting. Now, for the purpose of the generic FP&A, since COGS have very industry-specific nature, we have provided in the part of this package a unit rate cost that can be entered at a product level, and based on the volume across budgeted, the COGS will accordingly be displayed, right? Definitely, wherein we have industry-specific solutions, the specific nature of those industries are more detailed out with respect to the COGS calculation. Coming to the SG&A. SG&A comprises of different types of expenses, right? And each expense has its own nature of being budgeted, has its own set of drivers that are required, that influence or impact these P&L line items, right? Taking employee expense as the first example. Now, the employee expense here is not done at an employee level. Rather, it's done at a combination of my department, wherein I have these five departments configured. If at all you want to add more departments out here, that can be done, and accordingly selections would automatically populate, right? And at a grade level. Now, for those of you who already are well aware of Anaplan, how you know that how simple it is to add members to then increase the list of departments and grades. So this entire structure remains as it is for you in order to consume the moment you want to get onboarded on. The methodology applied is looking at a previous period headcount. We are taking assumptions on the termination, resignation, retirement, and addition percentages, and accordingly calculate the budgeted headcount. Then utilizing the the previous year as the base year for compensation calculations, and just providing certain inputs on appraisal and bonus. The system automatically helps you figure out what is your compensation expense for a department and a grade for every salary component that you have. Now, there are only 3 categorized here, but if at all there were to be more components to it, certainly they can be set up in a very stipulated time. So this is around our employee expense. Then moving further to our facilities and utilities. Now, facilities and utilities, we are taking 2 line items for our expenses: power and fuel, and rent expense. Right. Now, power and fuel is budgeted based on the previous year's power expense that you have done, calculating the rates per unit accordingly, and by allowing you to enter the units consumed, right? So that you are able to calculate a power expense. Now, this is right, and accordingly for the fuel expense, right? The rent expense utilizes the per unit, the per unit, per square feet rupee rent, and you can accordingly have placeholders to put in your increase percentages for these rents and calculate it. The next thing, which actually is the important part of this, is the ability to allocate these expenses into your business heads using certain drivers. So system has capability to accommodate two drivers at the moment, volume and revenue. Definitely, when we talk about industry specific, solutions in our future sessions, there would be more industry specific drivers which will play out in order to help you allocate these costs. And user at their end, they will be able to select which particular driver to be used for our expense allocation to the business units. So it's supposed to be revenue. All right. Moving ahead from facilities expense, sales and marketing. Now, sales and marketing expense allows you to create your budget at an event level, right? So you add events, correct? You enter your event name, coming season. You talk about an event type, if it's promotional advertising campaign, because based on this particular tagging, accordingly, it gets it gets mapped to its respective destination. So you can have a promotional event, submit it. You can select when do you want to start this particular event, right? Say I want to start in say Jan of 2024, and I want to quickly do with the March 24 for the 3 months. It's a promotional. What is the cost per month that I'm estimating to be? Yeah, 30,000. Any the total SM expense is calculated, and percent of uplift, if any, I'm targeting with respect from this particular event. I can mention I'm looking at a 12% increase in the uplift. Now, the interesting part is which particular part of a business unit is this event supposed to impact, right? So it so happens that many a times we do events focusing on a particular brand or product category of business units. In this case, you could very well assign that upcoming season would actually impact my MWO business unit. So accordingly, its expense get allocated to the MWO. And similarly, my Diwali sale is for the FF business unit, and that's where it gets mapped here. Now, incentive budgeting as a part of the sales expense. So incentive calculation is definitely more complicated, and from a budgeting purpose also, it's more detailed exercise. However, for the purpose of quick budgeting of your annual planning, you don't essentially go about and create your schemes, right? So you kind of so we have provided you to provide to use percentage of your revenue as an incentive payout based on the historical trends that you can use, and accordingly modify that percentage and be able to calculate your incentive budget for the subsequent year. Moving ahead from sales and marketing to the other G&A. Now, other G&A, there are a lot of G&A expenses which definitely companies incur, and the description would vary from company to company. So you have ability to create different G&A expense at your own level, define their names, have the allocation method defined based on volume and revenue, and simply provide that input. If at all these fall into, so these are basically for those not so significant G&A expense which you do not want to do too much time and effort for your driver-based planning. However, if there is any such need, we can look the feasibility of any of the industry-specific apps wherein some of these line items which are more prominent for those industries are more detailed. For the travel expense, similarly, wherein an R&D simple input which can be allocated. And you can add more operating expenses even if the other G&A is not the section where you want to put them, you can add them and accordingly provide this monthly input, right? Now this page access could be provided to multiple people based on their area where they have to provide their budget. And finally, the allocated expenses. So for all the expenses, although we have pre-selected, but you have a chance that you don't have to go back to those pages respectively again. And in order to want you to change your drivers, you can change them right here and then see your particular expenses getting allocated to the different BUs. Now, this completes our P&L budgeting. So post this, we can move on to look at our P&L statement, look at our variance analysis at different dimensionalities. Okay. So talking about, we're looking at a P&L statement where the important KPIs are pre-provided. Now, this predefined dashboard structure allows you to, quickly be able to create your, use it for your regular report, variance analysis, reviewing, and those things, right? And definitely more dashboards could be added out based on the structures that are pre-available here. Now you have options to change to select the frequency, the version, and the year for which you want to prepare your gross margin report and your operating expenses or your full P&L report also, right? So for example, if I want to create my gross margin, I want to do an actual of CY21, actual of CY22, actual of CY23 at annual level, but the actual of CY24 and budget at quarter level. So based on that selection, this is how my data would be populated. Correct. And similarly on the budget side. Now, the similar fashion, there are more reports on the variance analysis. So it's an organization of view level variance analysis, wherein you can have your specific product categories and your view level, your customer segment combination. You can very easily pivot out based on your own needs. If you want to pivot out any particular structures, you could do it on the screen and look at your entire variance analysis over here from between different periods and the different versions. And then a specific product group based variance analysis, which is able to give you a volume and the price variance accordingly, right? Now, this is something which is most demanded by the business, by the finance team, but it also helps you provide information which is readily available to be shared with your business team also, or brand managers, or category managers, so that you can provide all this information to them. Now, this completes our P&L budgeting. Then we have our balance sheet drivers. So we have built out two modules out here, which is one is CapEx schedule, second is working capital drivers. Now, the CapEx schedule allows you to allows you to provide your depreciation rates at an asset class level. You can have different asset class. You can have more asset class. We can help you configure this if you plan to get this onboarded in your ecosystem, in your company. You could, for the first month, you have to set up your block, but subsequently it automatically calculates your opening, closing, and you're able to create your fixed asset schedule across your entire budget year, right, at an asset class level. And then certain working capital drivers which allow you to budget based on your DSO, DPO, and DIO, and utilizing your budgeted revenue and costs, and also borrowings input. Now, this is something which is very interesting. Now, until before, the borrowings which are typically looked at are based on the work. So how do you link your working capital needs to your cash flow? So how do you budget for the borrowings that you may need? So you could add your borrowings out here, right? You can have more borrowings. So let's say if I want to add a borrowing, I'll say empty loan. I'll define what is the start month where I'm looking at. So I'll say, Feb 24, I'm starting this loan. I will, and it I can have a target to it, right? Nothing stops me from saying that I could, I could pay it out in 5 months period, right? Too aggressive though. And then I'll define what is my interest percentage and what is the amount of loan that I'm looking at. So it's about it. And it creates a borrowing entry form, right? The moment it does, the interest gets budgeted automatically. Now, if at all you have any existing borrowings, we can link this particular module to those existing borrowings, right? And accordingly help you calculate your interest that you will have to be paying out on those existing borrowings or any new ones that you're planning for the upcoming year. Based on this, you're able to create your balance sheet. However, for the remaining elements of it, you can enter those line items directly at the balance sheet level. You can have them linked to certain other specific structures for inputs, and accordingly get your entire balance sheet at a company level. Now, this is something which currently is there, that the balance sheet and cash flow are only available at a company level. But if in case we see that there is an interest from the audience in order to have a business unit level cash flow and balance sheet statement, so we can definitely come up with that as a part of this particular package and offer it to all. And then finally, your executive dashboard, which can be accessed by your senior folks. They can have quick information about the budget actual. They could visualize information in different in thousands, absolute or millions for views or all views at a company level for a month or multiple months, quarter, right? And accordingly, all of that be. For example, if I'm looking at a full year, so I'm able to have my. So this was all from the perspective of Anaplan, right? But let me take you back to one particular slide that you mentioned. We covered this part, right? You have your integration set up from your source systems pretty seamlessly. You have your planning system built out, or so to say, you could simply lift it off into your own area and utilize it immediately. You can use the Plan IQ intelligence in order to help you, support based on the signs. But then that's not where the IT paradigm is supposed to end, right? So the IT paradigm also has this angle of it. What is that angle? So let's go back. Anaplan connected to Power BI dashboard and at the fingertips of the user. Now, there are multiple ways that you already know that we can do this. One is if you have a complete staged data warehouse layer in your organization, wherein you want to bring your Anaplan data, a wormhole utility can do that very easily. And subsequent modeling into Power BI and all that can be done. However, if at all we are to utilize if we are to directly connect, there are adapters, right? So what our solution offers is it has pre-configured exports which can directly be linked in Power BI dashboards. In fact, if you want, you can utilize the same Power BI dashboards as we have, and at a click of simple refresh, it's triggered, right? And the moment I refresh this particular dashboard, it will present all the information that has been calculated as a part of the budget and actuals that was brought into the Power BI, right? There's some connection issue out here. Okay, I'll leave it out here. I mean, it's not supporting today. So yeah. Okay, so that's all we had from the demonstration purpose on our FP&A catalog that we have, right? So the idea of providing this as a part of the solution is for you to not spend too much time deliberating, how do I kick off my Anaplan journey, right? Or even if you're an existing Anaplan customer, you're not using it in your finance, you don't have to spend too much time analyzing that, how do I start my financial planning? How do I cater to my, gather my requirements? How do I design the system and how do I accordingly cater to it? You can, in order to get started, right? Definitely, as a full-fledged solution, there will be upcoming offers on different industries. Some are already existing, which you can utilize and see. But to get kicked off, you can in fact go with your generic financial planning app in Anaplan. We can in fact do a due diligence of your planning process. We can have a workshop with you wherein we will analyze your planning process, help you understand what part of it can be quickly ramped up into Anaplan, and how quickly can you actually start utilizing it, and subsequent enhancements and etc. can be done by your own Anaplan COE team or through us also. Correct. So I guess we have good time on our hands now. So if at all there are any questions which you would like to get answered to, if there are any specific things which you want to know, you can please mention it in the chat. We'll see how best we can answer at this moment. For a few, if we need, we will come back to you.
Team, please put in questions in the chat. We'll be happy to answer that. Ankit, this was wonderful. And this was just too much I'm just going crazy about it. And people who are looking at it, if you like what you see, just type in Anaplan in the chat and we'll know that you're loving the solution. And just to jog your memories, I'm just putting on the screen what we saw in the last 35 to 40 minutes. We saw an integration live with a live data source, bringing into Anaplan, and then we saw a comprehensive FP&A solution talking about defined going up to three levels of hierarchies across different geographies. We saw a balance sheet view, a complete cost structure across different departments and operational expenditure, and there was an executive dashboard. Just to summarize, I wanted to put this on the screen. Ankit, this is super amazing, and a lot of people are putting in chat they want it for their particular industry. The messages are just flowing in, so I'll just address those in the next minute. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to write it in the chat. Else, you can also write us to marketing@polestarllp.com and we'll be happy to take up your queries. And I think that's a good segue into we wanted to do a quick short survey with the audience. So here are a few questions we want to know what people are feeling. So here's a quick survey. We'll just take 10 to 15 seconds on each question. There are just three questions we want you to help us with. In your existing organizations, how much coverage of the process, existing FP&A process, do you see over here, what you saw today? Again, we're getting a mixed bag. That's wonderful to see. We have people sitting across different complexities and different difficulties and trying to solve the FP&A problem. That's nice to see. Okay, thank you for the response. We'll move to the next question. There's the next poll. So we showed multiple solutions today, and the entire package is what we refer to as the I3 paradigm. Now, if integration is your ask, feel free to put that. If you were interested in the FP&A app, feel free to put that. If you're interested in the entire I3 paradigm, select your answer. Again, I'm seeing a mixed bag of answers, so that's showing that everybody has different needs and they figured out a lot of pieces, but probably there's one piece of the puzzle missing. Wonderful, thank you for the responses. And here's just last poll. So are you interested for a trial of that solution? Basis the poll responses, we'll be reaching out. There's a question in the chat about the recording of the webinar. Do not worry, this is getting recorded. We'll be sharing the recording with all the participants and whoever had registered but could not make it today. Do not worry about that. If you're interested for a trial, answer now. I'm just going to let this poll be there for the next 10 seconds as well. Perfect. Thank you all for the responses. And just for my curiosity, I just wanted to do a small interaction with the crowd, a little guesswork. So here's one small teeny question. What do you think would be an ideal price for this entire solution that you saw today? What is something you'd be comfortable paying for this entire package that you saw today? I'm just going to So I can see the answers are flowing in. We'll probably take another 10 seconds. Again, if you are interested for a trial, please feel free to write to us at marketing@polestarllp.com, or you can drop a note in the chat. Else, you can always reach out to Ankit on LinkedIn. Perfect. Thank you all for the lovely responses and the great participation. Ankit, this was amazing. What we saw today is a total game changer. And the best part is this is industry configurable. And that's what I'm seeing in the chat. I'm getting a lot of responses. Integrated FP&A for hospitality, integrated FP&A for real estate. That's interesting. Integrated FP&A for high tech. That's even more interesting. And integrated FP&A for retail. These are some of the responses that I'm getting. We'll be reaching out to you folks. Do not worry. We'll be reaching out to you for a customized trial, and we'll be in touch. Once again, thank you for your participation today. Ankit, thanks a lot for the lovely demo. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day, everybody.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks.